and they love him win or lose. But there are people still in this event, and a lot of action going on back in Gary Beck's pit.
You're looking at Gary Beck's crewman Terry Caldwell installing the transmission in this Top Fuel dragster. We've said before that the driver makes one gear change. Well, this is how it is done. It's an aluminum case, and much like a Model T Ford, believe it or not, has planetary gears in it, far more stronger than the old Model T, along with a clutch pack. And the clutch pack enables the drivers to change the ratio of the transmission. 30% underdrive, 35, clear up to 60% underdrive if you'd use one in a pro stock car. Now, all he does is push a button because there are air bottles that force the transmission to shift, and bolted to the back of the transmission, the long lever you see is the reverser.
Incredible technology in modern drag racing. Now to the first pairing of the semi-final round. There is Gary Ormsby, and on the near side he will face Frank Bradley.
There is no finer car in Top Fuel racing, Paul, than Gary Ormsby. All the little trick aerodynamics, the engine producing somewhere around 3,000 horsepower, car weighing in about 1,600 pounds. And as I said before, Ormsby loves this racetrack. It has brought him his only national event victory. Frank Bradley, he has also won here at Pomona.
Monster machines, these Top Fuel dragsters. As we look at Frank Bradley closest to us, Gary Ormsby on the far side. Both cars inch up the stage. Now Bradley in position, Ormsby set, ready to go. There go the lights and the tires in the right lane again as Bradley falls behind and Gary Ormsby screams down the quarter mile. Ormsby with a 5:56, 251-mile-an-hour pass.
It's still hard to say, Paul, whether it's the near lane or the fact that the competitors in this lane have been behind a bit and are trying to make a lapse time with clutch, blocking up the clutch before the track is ready to handle that power.
The near lane has been costly today. Let's go to the far end with Steve Evans.
Gary Ormsby goes into the final round. This Pomona racetrack, good for him over the years. It fell off a little bit to a 5:56, Gary.
Yeah, it laid down a little bit coming down. I noticed it got a little bit of oil out of it. It didn't pull quite as hard on the top end that time.
You have to work on it between rounds.
Yeah, it looks like we'll have to do a little work.
The racetrack, is it holding up for you?
Yeah, it seemed to be. I didn't feel it get loose at all out there, and it pulled real good except for the top end.
Frank Bradley smoked the tires early on.
I thought something happened because I didn't see him out there at a ways, and I figured he either smoked the tires or shut it off.
Okay, Gary Ormsby, that's one half of the Top Fuel final. Let's go back to Paul on the starting line for the second half.
Two veterans ready to go. Gary Beck, engine fired as he brings it back, ready to move up stage for a burnout, but Gene Snow waiting just a bit before he gets his engine fired.
Paul, there could be a problem here. That Texas crew trying out. Now that the motor dies, they're having a problem starting that car. Now the starter could send Gary Beck by himself, but they inconvenience him too long. Beck not rushing Snow, does an extra burnout over the starting line. Now Gene, total frustration, asking his guys what's going on. I'm not sure anybody knows what's going on.
Snow continues to look around, tries to find out what's happening with the power plant behind him. Gary Beck, the champion he is, brings it back nice and slow. He wants to give Snow every opportunity. Now they get down, they're working on the magneto down around the front of the engine, and it is a desperate situation here for Gene Snow.
My guess here, Paul, would be the magneto was installed improperly in the pit area. They call it 180 degrees out. In other words, it looks like it's improperly, but it's exactly 180 degrees off. In fact, that's what they're trying to do. But I don't think they're... No, Gary Beck is on the starting line, and what a break for him, Paul. He has that unpredictable near lane.
What he needs to do is run faster than a 5:56 so he gets his choice of lanes in the final round. He is off and rolling. Gary Beck with a 5:55. He's done it. He'll get his choice of lanes in the final round as Gene Snow unzips and walks away. Gary Beck will face Gary Ormsby in the final, and it could be the end of a long dry spell for Gary Beck.
A good chance that Beck will assign Ormsby to them.
Yeah. Now, let's go to the pits and Steve.
Well, Gene Snow, after all the smiles from the 5:49 in the second round, then you sat bolted into the cockpit, totally frustrated.
Well, we had the magneto in wrong and no way it could ever start, and that certainly is frustrating. We hadn't even hurt the motor on the run before the 5:49.
Well, you're not the first crew to ever put it in 180 degrees out. That's happened to a lot of racers.
Yeah, it happens. We discussed it. I said after we leaked the motor and it leaked good, I said we got two choices. We can take it apart and be sure it's right, but also at the same time take a chance of doing something wrong when we put it back together, or we can go ahead and run it and maybe have missed something. So we elected to take it apart, and gosh, it's just one of those things that happen.
Okay, Gene, thank you so much. And here, bolted into the car, is the man who benefited from all of Gene's problems. Paul?
Coming up now, the final round in Top Fuel. Gary Beck and Gary Ormsby. Beck with 18 career victories. Gary Ormsby has only won once in his career, but in the right place. He's won right here at Pomona. They come to the line now.
And Paul, you couldn't ask for a more evenly matched Top Fuel final round. They go to the starting line 1/100th of a second apart, and indeed, Gary Beck has put Gary Ormsby in the near lane. And as Gary Ormsby performs that thundering burnout in the lengthening shadows here at Pomona, Paul, you could see the long nitro flames out of the exhaust.
Gary Ormsby has been faster in earlier rounds with a pass at 5:49. Beck's best pass was the one in the semifinals at 5:55. Beck ready to go. So is Ormsby, a veteran and a man with only one win here.
Ormsby has been racing every bit as long as Gary Beck, but the experience edge, Paul, still has to go to this man, Gary Beck. He's been in so many final rounds, and that's really where the pressure is.
15 months since a victory for Gary Beck. He certainly is hoping for one here today. The Iceman is on the line.
Absolutely, Paul. In fact, Gary Beck showed very little emotion as he suited up in the staging lights. On the other hand, Gary Ormsby, he was pacing around, chatting nervously. A totally different style for both of these men.
These final seconds of preparation, Steve Evans, almost as important as the run itself.
And I guarantee you, Paul, going through both of their minds right now, don't be late. Get a quick start, because this, well, could be a driver's race. The man off that mark first might win it all.
At first, there was a question about this near lane. That question has now been decided. Both lanes appear to be holding the traction and the horsepower very well. So we're looking forward to one very fast final round here in the NHRA World Finals.
And before it's over 10 gallons of $50 a gallon nitromethane will have flowed through these motors. A very expensive sport, but one that could pay off big for either Gary Ormsby or Gary Beck right now.
Gary Ormsby in the near lane. He sets ready. That is Gary Beck on the far side. They move up. The staging lights are lit. They're ready for one yellow and then a green as they both are prepared. There we go. Here's Gary Beck charging. Gary Ormsby tries to play catch up. It's Gary Beck the whole way as the motor lets go on Gary Ormsby's car. Parts fly everywhere, but the race already over. Gary Beck has won the World Finals.
And I guarantee you, they picked up the Gary Ormsby explosion on the Richter scale at nearby Caltech. He exploded the supercharger right up the top of the motor. Gary Beck had the advantage right off the mark. A narrow one, but all he needed.
Both cars launched very, very hard. Front wheels off the ground on both, but Gary Beck was the leader right from the word go. On Ormsby's car in the near lane, you can see the start of that engine explosion as Beck leads him across the line. We'll take a look at it one more time. Again, the near lane, there is Ormsby's engine as it completely disintegrates. But Beck already across the line. A win with a 5:53, 247 miles an hour. Ormsby the loser, 5:55, 245. The dry spell is now over. Let's go to the far end. And Steve Evans with Gary Beck.
What an incredible final in Top Fuel. Unbelievable race. 5:53, you won it.
Thank you, Steve. Boy, I saw him over there in the middle of the racetrack. He was running real strong.
And at the finish line, you probably heard him.
Yeah, I did. I wasn't sure for a second, but it was a big flash and a big deal. I was, believe me, real happy, real pleased for Larry Miner. It's been a long, hard season over here. Tremendous gang of people, Bernie Federley, Ed McCullough, Bill Walter, that worked so hard. The people on my car and Larry's car and Ace's car. Tremendous season, really, to try to finish up with a win.
And what a way to win it. Just a wheel-to-wheel duel.
It was a good drag race. We knew it was going to be.
Well, they didn't skunk you this season, Mr. Beck.
Thank you very much, Steve. It's nice to be here.
Oh, boy, what a race. Paul Page?
Well, there's the smile that comes with a long-awaited victory. Gary Beck puts his name in the winners column here.